Welcome to Casual Combat Podcast. My name is Nelson Baker, and I will let my co-host introduce himself.
My name's Cal. I go by Casual Cal based on my expertise in MMA. I really take pride in being a strong casual.
All right, guys. So this is our very first episode that we are filming. So hang with us. It's going to be rough. We have no production value. We have no experience. And truthfully, we have no hope for this first episode being any type of good. And also probably no views. But right away, I want to talk about what this podcast is. First off, we're going to talk cards. Each main card that comes up every week. Hopefully we'll get one every week, even though this pandemic has been a little weird. But there's a lot of different podcasts that cover the cards each week. One thing that we want to do that hopefully sets us apart is highlight lesser-known fighters. Cal, you want to talk to a little bit about why we chose to highlight lesser-known fighters, especially in this time of a pandemic?
So we wanted to stand out a little different from all the other podcasts, and we feel that we can spend some time researching some guys on the undercard that maybe you didn't know about that often. Usually I don't know about them before I start doing my research, so it's fun for me too. And we're just trying to add knowledge to the other casual fans like us. I mean, we're just two guys pretending that we know about fighting and just kind of making it up as we go. So anything we can figure out while we're learning and stuff is good for us, I guess, and you. That was a mouthful.
Yeah. One thing that we want to stress is that we are casual fans, right? There's going to be names that we butcher. When we highlight fighters that people don't know about, that doesn't mean that the listeners here have never heard of this person, right? I know we're probably going to have listeners that say, you highlighted X fighter. I've known who they are for 3 years. Okay, well, I didn't. And I like to think that I know a little bit more than the average new fan of MMA, but not that much more. Cal and I have been lifelong wrestlers. We're college athletes. But like I said, we have never fought. There's a lot of moves in MMA that we don't know the names of, but we really do enjoy it.
I make them up when I see them, and I don't know them. I make up new names.
The really tight squeeze choke.
Yeah, they get them. So they got work sometimes.
But one thing that really ignited our desire to do this podcast was the fact that during this pandemic, there's been a record amount of new fans because MMA and particularly the UFC was the only live sports on, right? So a lot of people just decided that they would sit down and watch some cards and hopefully realize that it was really cool. But now, as they've decided to get in to watching the UFC, the learning curve to learn some names, to learn obvious things about the sport that might not be so obvious to newcomers, hopefully we can talk about. And we might over-explain some things, right? Like there might be very obvious facts or things about fighters that we might talk about that, a regular fan or a more advanced fan would think, no shit. There's of course that's true. But, we're going to explain things.
And if you're a newer fan, the MMA fighting really works like a vortex. You watch, you like the knockouts, you like to see maybe, a couple big names, who Conor McGregor is. You watch some people get knocked out, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. You see some hard hits. But then all of a sudden, a couple guys like, oh, I really like him. Oh, he's fighting this guy, and it becomes way more fun. So we're hoping if people can listen to this podcast, we can give you some guys who every week you're excited about. I mean, right now I did a little research on a couple guys on the undercard, and I'm very excited for those fights that normally I wouldn't know who either of these guys are. But we're trying to add excitement to fights where there isn't always excitement, obviously, there.
Exactly. And one of the ways that we will be measuring these undercard fighters, and some of you guys may be able to relate and others may not if you're very new. I've got a category called casual wins, right? So if a fighter has 15 wins, say they're 15-2, but they haven't beat anybody that I've ever heard of, I would say they have no casual wins, right? No fighters that the casual fan would know. But if they have, 2 casual wins or they're 2-1 in casual fights, that means that they're fighting notable people that I've at least heard of. And I think that's a good way to, and I think that's how people, when they look at somebody's record, realistically, how they judge their opinion on them. Oh, he lost to Yoel Romero via decision. Like, okay, he's probably pretty good. Or, this guy knocked out Sean O'Malley. Holy crap, he's good. But a name that you don't know doesn't mean much. So That's the goal. We're trying to get names in your brain.
Yeah, make it more fun for you to watch the fights every weekend.
Absolutely. And, of course, as always, I think I mentioned this, we're always going to make our predictions about the main card. Even though a lot of places do that and a lot of podcasts talk about that, of course, we're going to make our predictions. And hopefully each main event, Cal and I are going to fight each other on UFC 4 and put that in the video podcast. And then that will be our prediction for the main event. This week, however, I don't think Rakic is in UFC 4. They didn't put him in the game. So,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the future we'll start like custom making these guys if they're not in there or something.
Oh, yes, I like that. And regardless of what we think, the result of that fight will be our podcast's prediction officially about the main event.
Yeah, which we intend to announce as we replay it in front of you as if we've never seen it before.
Exactly. I will be John Anik and Cal will be DC. Well, at least in screen.
That's what I want.
Yeah. All right. So, without further ado, let's get to our undercard fighters. For this podcast, we've both done 2 guys. I'm excited about the 2 guys that I did. I sat down probably about an hour and a half, did some research. I will admit that I had heard of Zach Cummings. I didn't know anything about him. But Sean Brady was totally new for me. And it's hopefully 2 names that you can get out. I'll do one, then Cal will do one, and then I'll do one, and then Cal will do the other one. All right, so I'm going to start off with the very first fight on the undercard, and it is welterweight Sean Brady. So Sean Brady is 12-0 as a professional, and he's 2-0 in the UFC. So he's kind of run through his competition, and by run through, you'll know what I mean by that here in a little bit later. He's ranked number 42 in the world, which, as an undefeated fighter, in my mind, that doesn't really mean much. He's 12-0 as a professional and 2-0 in the UFC, but being an undefeated professional fighter that has made it to a number like 12 or 13 or 14, with each win that they have, they're going to jump exponentially in the world rankings like SureDog or these different ranking systems. But really, until they've hit somebody that I would consider a casual fight, like somebody that I know, that number 42 ranking doesn't mean much to me. That being said, I did watch some of his highlights, watch some of his recent fights, and he does have a nuke of a left hand. He's an orthodox fighter, which means he favors his right hand. His right hand's hanging back, but that lead left hand is what he really puts people out with. But I say that he puts people out. Of his 12 wins, 7 are decisions. So I haven't gone in depth and watched all of his fights in their entirety, but he only has 2 subs and 3 KOs, which I talked about earlier, how he's run through his competition. Yes, he's beaten all 12 guys that he's faced, but when you're kind of on those local circuits, right? And again, I'm a casual. I didn't go in and do absolute in-depth analysis of who his 12 wins were, but there were no casual fights. There was nobody that I recognized in those fights, and I have to imagine that probably 5 or 6 of his first 12 professional wins were on like local circuits. So having 7 of his 12 fights be decisions, in my mind, it's hard to make a hype train behind this guy, right? There's a difference between a guy that's winning his fights by decision and a guy like Sean O'Malley who is knocking everybody out. But again, who am I to judge? I am not a professional fighter. I am a casual fan. I do want to highlight, though, and I don't really know how to use Zoom that well, I do want to highlight his first professional fight. Cal, let me know if you can see my screen here.
Will do.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, I see your screen.
All right, I want to highlight Sean Brady's very first professional fight. Here we go.
Look at that outfit.
All right, there we go.
Huh, that was it.
That was it. It was 9 seconds. His very first professional fight only lasted 9 seconds. That's cool. Of note, Sean Brady is the biggest favorite on this whole entire card, prelims or main card at -380. So for the casuals, the new fans, minus 380 means that you would have to bet $380 on Sean Brady. And then if he wins, then you get 100, right?
Yeah.
In opposite, if a guy's like a plus 240, if you bet $100, then you would win $240. That's how it works. I don't bet money on fights. That's one of the reasons why I like researching guys, because that makes it more interesting. Certainly a way that you can get interested in the undercard fights is to put money on them, and then you have incentive to watch the fights.
I bet on them all.
Cal puts money on all of them, so he definitely benefits from being educated. But yeah, for Sean Brady, I'm excited to see how his career progresses. I can't say that I'm on the Sean Brady hype train, but I'm for sure picking him this weekend, and until he proves that he's not the guy, I won't bet against him.
Yeah, I think he sounds like a stud, but yeah, you can't put too much weight behind that right now. Typically, when I'm looking to bet on fights, if I got a guy like this who hasn't really fought anybody and he's a really heavy favorite, that seems like a trap. I'd probably stay away from betting on it. I think he'll probably win the fight, but you don't have a whole bunch to gain betting on a fight like that.
Yeah, everything to lose, not much to gain.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, who's your first guy?
Okay, so I researched this guy by the name of Impa Kasagny. He's a 26-year-old. He's 5'11", got a 75-inch reach. He's 7-0. He's only fought 7 professional fights. I watched a couple of them. He is just a freak of nature physically. Fights at middleweight, and I mean, this dude's got every muscle bulging out of places I didn't even know you had muscles. Just ripped. His last fight, he won a fight in the Contender Series over Anthony Adams. That name means nothing to me, like all people he's fought. But I watched a couple of his fights. It is fun to see, and I'm sure his opponent knows this too at this level, but he really sets everything up with his left jab. He likes to a lot of times go left jab to a left outside leg kick. Or a lot of times what he really likes to do is he'll dig out an underhook or an overhook with his left hand, and he likes to isolate that side and throw hammers with his right hand. He's really aggressive and fun to watch. I mean, like all the fights I watch, he comes flying out of his corner, running and throwing punches from all over the place. So, I mean, he's a guy you can get excited about.
As casual fans, that's what we like to see.
Yeah, one of my notes are is over-aggressive at times and will run downhill, because he almost does like the Francis Ngannou thing where all of a sudden you see just both arms are swinging at the same time and he's just running at the guy. He's actually only been fighting professional for a year and a half, which worries me because
Can you tell me he's had 7 fights in the last 16 months?
Yep. Most of his first 5 lower level ones, I watched one of his fights, and I think it was actually in a dude's basement. I'm pretty sure he knocked a guy out. But most of his first fights were fast knockouts, so he must have just continued with that. His last fight on the Contender Series was a decision. I saw him people shot a couple takedowns, but again, these guys weren't real good. He was fighting. He defended them fine. I really like occasionally too. So he uses that left jab to set up his right, set up his kicks. But then occasionally I saw he knocked out one of the guys he fought. He went left jab and then faked the right, came back with a big left hook, and he's orthodox, so that's his lead hand. And he dropped the guy. He's got a lot of power. He's fighting a guy named, I'm sure this is wrong, Maki Pitolo. But this guy has fought 4 times this year in the UFC. His last fight, he was submitted by Darren Stewart on August 8th, and he also has definite finishing power, which definitely worries me in this fight, because the one thing I noticed about Kasagny is he's not always protecting himself. He's got a lot of offense, a lot of power, but I think could get hit too. But no matter what, that's going to be a fight where there's a lot of fireworks and should be fun to watch.
Good. So certainly, hopefully, an exciting fight that we can look forward to on the other card. But yeah, you definitely had mentioned some casual fights. And it sounds like he definitely has his hands full. This may be his first real test. Even though I struggle with saying that somebody is a test when they have had a decision win, right? You said he had a decision win on the Contender Series, so certainly that guy was a test, but it's always exciting when you see a guy that's like 7-0.
And I want to say that guy has fought too in a another professional league, and the guy he fought had some wins. I mean, it wasn't just nobody. But, yeah, he's fun to watch.
Nice. So the question is, are you putting your money on him this weekend?
Yeah, I will. I would put my money on him. He's a minus 130 favorite, so not a huge favorite. But honestly, if I was really looking to make some money on this fight, I would bet on a knockout, bet on it not going the full length. Because I think either saying he's going to hit him with a big right or something and drop him, or he's going to get himself into some trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go full time.
Yeah, those are the fights that we love to watch as casuals.
Yep.
So my next fighter, his name is Zach Cummings, a guy that I had heard his name, knew nothing about. One of those guys that's been around for quite a long time. This weekend he's fighting Alessio Di Chirico. I might have messed that up. And Zach Cummings is actually a slight underdog at plus 100. But I think this is a close enough fight that I'll get to who I think is going to win after I describe him. But this guy is 23-7. I don't know how old he is. I didn't look that closely. But he has 12 wins by submission. He has 2 Bravo chokes, which, looking on his record on SureDog, I did not know what a Bravo choke was, so I promptly YouTubed it, and I cannot figure out the difference between a Bravo choke and a Darce choke, which, for people who don't know what these things are, like I was 25 minutes ago, a Darce choke is the Tony Ferguson choke, where if you're a wrestler, you get a front headlock, and then you sink it deep, and you kind of like arm triangle him, but from the top when your chest is on his back. But he has 2 of these, and I've never heard of Bravo chokes, but there must be some slight difference or nuance that's different than the Tony Ferguson Darce choke. But one of the big things that I saw that make me favor Zach Cummings in this fight is that he's 8-4 in the UFC. So certainly this is not a guy that is just up and coming and is finally getting his big shot. This guy's been around. He only has one, I would say, casual win, and that is over Trevin Giles. I would say Trevin the Fainter Giles, because if you're a new fan, there was a card that was probably either 3 weeks to a month ago where Trevin Giles fainted right before he walked out for his fight against Kevin Holland. And the only reason that I know who Trevin Giles is because that was a fight kind of like one of these that Dana White had hyped up that said that was sure to be a contender for the fight of the night. So that name, Trevin Giles, stuck in my head, and then he fainted, and I still haven't seen him fight. So Zach Cummings did submit him, and his second casual fight is a casual loss, but it's a casual loss by decision to Omari Akhmedov, who was ranked 11th in the UFC middleweight division and just had a notable loss in a main event to Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman was a former champ, beat Anderson Silva a couple times. In my mind, one of the best middleweights of all time. And Omari Akhmedov did lose. It was a sloppy fight. It was not an entertaining fight at all. But he was able to best Zach Cummings by unanimous decision, and that was his last fight. So, honestly, even though he is a slight underdog, I'm going to favor Zach Cummings just because he's been around. I don't know much about this Alessio Di Chirico. I had just chosen Zach to research because I had heard his name. But yeah, he's got a fair amount of UFC experience, right? 12 fights in the UFC, and he's fought at least somewhat of the who's who of the welterweight division. So, yeah. Sorry, welterweight, of the middleweight. That's going to be a casual correction right there.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm taking Zach Cummings.
Yeah, he definitely sounds like he's battle-tested. Spot a few. What were the odds on that fight? Do you have that?
Let me pull it up. He is a plus 100 underdog, and Di Chirico is a 120 favorite.
Okay, so essentially a pick'em fight, pretty even.
A pick'em fight, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so for the second fight, I researched. I actually snuck into the main card a little bit. We got the first fight in the main card. We have Magomed Ankalaev. Oh, excuse me. He's a Russian. He's 27 years old, 6'3". He fights at light heavyweight, and this guy is a really technical, good striker. I had a lot of fun watching his fights. I think his last 3 fights, he's won by knockout in like the first 2 or 3 minutes. But what he has is just a nasty left foot head kick, and he uses everything else to set that up. He kind of lulls you to sleep. Like, I'll watch him, and I'll watch for the first 30 seconds. He just stands there kind of fainting, not doing anything. And then all of a sudden he feints a little harder and then whips that foot up there and kicks people in the face, and he drops people. I think his last 2 knockouts are from kicks to the face. He seems really hard to hit. I watched a couple of his longer fights, and he's long at light heavyweight. He's tall and long, 6'3", 75-inch reach. So he keeps people away from him. And what he likes to do, though, is he'll get people's back to the cage, and then either put them in the clinch and just kind of drown them right there. He just tires people out. Or he'll have them stuck against the cage, where if they come out and make any moves towards him, he's landing punches or landing huge kicks. I mean, it's crazy how fast he whips that foot up there. And I think what really helps him set it out is he'll low kick a lot with it, and then he'll come flying up to the head. This weekend he's fighting, and I'm going to say this wrong, Ian Cutelaba. Jeez, that's
I think
bad.
it's Ion Cutelaba.
There you go. That's the guy he's fighting. Anyways, they fought already.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is my casual take. Isn't this a 2?
Yeah, this is a 2 because what Cutelaba says is that he was faking being rocked because he got kicked in the head right away and was kind of wobbling back and forth like that. I should have said before this, too, when they announced Ion's name, he came running out like before the fight started and tried to start fighting early and acted all tough. And then 10 seconds in the fight, he got kicked in the face and then punched a bunch in the face and then tried arguing that he wasn't knocked out. But so they're fighting again. And I would think Magomed's going to knock him out again. He seems completely outmatched. So
I think I have this right? So Ion in the first fight legitimately got rocked.
Yeah.
Probably. And then was like stumbling back, and the ref stopped it. The official stopped it before then they could hit again. And Cutelaba claimed that he was faking being rocked to then bait him in to hit him with a bomb, but then was mad that they stopped it.
Which should also be known is Cutelaba missed like 3 punches during that exchange and got punched like 3 more times in the face. And continued to stumble more.
Yes, to get absolutely blitzed and then claim that you were faking being rocked. Hard for me to have much compassion and empathy for you, but I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I'm sure he'll come out all fired up again and act all tough, and then hopefully Magomed kicks him in the face again.
I want to see somebody get kicked in the face.
Magomed's 13-1. He's never been knocked out. The one time he lost, he got submitted. I couldn't find a video of that fight, but who knows? Maybe that was a fluke. He really does attack in flurries. He waits, he lulls his opponents to sleep, and then land 3 punches back up and kick him in the face. The fun thing, though, like all these Russians, is I shouldn't say the fun thing. The other thing is he's really good at takedowns and getting people on the mat and pounding the shit out of them. He's tough, and I don't think he's been challenged enough to need that yet, but I think if he gets someone who is equal to him in their striking ability, I think he can take people down at will and start pounding on them there. I think this is a guy who in a couple years is going to be ranked very high in the light heavyweight division. I think he has a really bright future.
Mm-hmm. And I was pulling something up on my browser. Did he have any fights over people that you knew or not? I'm sure you said it. I missed it.
Well, I didn't. I missed that part of our research.
It's all right. I'm not worried about it.
I mean, he beat.
We're casuals.
Yeah. No. One casual win against the guy he's fighting again.
Oh yeah. So sure. I like fighting.
But it's not like some of those other guys who I've been researching where they have a lot of decisions. He knocks people out. He's kicking people in the face. And I think he's either like 4-0 or 5-1 or something in the UFC.
Yeah. So one thing that I think you also share my opinion of is, even though we are lifelong wrestlers, I personally cannot stand when a person tries to strictly wrestle. I appreciate wrestling and MMA, but I do not enjoy I like Ben Askren just because this person because of his personality and from the
Right.
geographic location of where we live. But it's really frustrating to see a fighter only wrestle. But I appreciate wrestling when combined with a total package.
Yep, that's what I really like about him. I mean, he's as technical as a striker as I've seen or as I can understand. And I'm sure I'm just picking up on some things, but I'm sure he does a whole lot more that I don't even realize is happening. But yeah, he's got the whole package, and I agree. I'm not a huge fan of guys who take people down and wrestle them the whole time. I like to see people get knocked out and throw big bombs and kick people in the face. That's what I like about fighting.
Nice. And you said this was a light heavyweight bout, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And really, a good performance here could really set him up to be positioned well in the light heavyweight division right now due to John Jones vacating that belt to it all kind of being up in the air. And, I mean, I think Reyes is a clear top, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, this guy hasn't – who knows where his ceiling is. I think, too, if he gets like a quick knockout and can be active again sooner rather than later, that'd be really beneficial to him. I think probably you get a big win here, and then next step up, you get another big win, then he's right up there, probably in the top 10.
Yeah.
That's what – if I was going to bet on this fight, I believe Magomed's – I don't have the odds up in front of me. I think he's a pretty heavy favorite. What's his it's like minus 280, isn't it, or something like that?
He's minus 350. He's the second biggest favorite on the card, other than Sean Brady.
I would bet on him getting a knockout.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that'll happen again. And you can probably get a little better odds for that.
Yeah.
And that's what I got on him.
All right. Now, let's move on, unless you have anything else to say about Magomed. Let's get on to our main card predictions. All right. Our goal here is not to blitz you with undercard predictions, right? Other than the people that we highlight, I also don't know a whole bunch of people on the undercard. My goal is not to make you interested in every single fight on the undercard, but just a few.
Right.
In order for us to get you excited about every fight on the undercard, this podcast would be 2.5 hours long, and even then, it probably wouldn't do it justice.
And so we don't want to ruin it by telling you this guy's so exciting, and then you watch the fight like, oh my God, this guy's not fun at all. Mm-hmm. Why were these guys getting me all pumped about this fight? This guy doesn't want to do anything. Like, so there could be weeks where we have only 1 or 2 fights on the undercard. We're like, hey, watch this guy and this guy, because everyone else, I don't know. We did a little research and weren't crazy about them.
Yeah. So for my undercard fights, I'm picking Sean Brady over Christian Aguilera, and I'm picking Zach Cummings over Alessio Di Chirico. And then your fight was, I can't even say that name, Casagni?
Casagni.
Casagni. All right.
Yeah.
So you're taking him over Maki Piccolo.
Yep. Most likely that fight ending in a knockout. Either way.
Yeah. So first fight on the main card, obviously, Ankalaev versus Kudalaba. I'm picking Ankalaev. I think you are too. We just kind of hashed that one out.
Yep. Most likely by knockout.
Yep. The next fight is Alexa Grosso versus Ji Yong Kim. Alexa Grosso is a 310 favorite. It's really hard for me to sway the other way. I don't know if that fight is going to be super exciting. I also won't claim to be a professional or an expert on either of those fighters, so that is what it is. I'm going to take the heavy fave.
I will do the same. I have no input on either of them, other than the one being a heavy favorite. I mean, yeah, that's what I got.
There's kind of always one of those on the main card that just kind of gets thrown in there. And my guess is that Alexa is a female fighter. I have no idea if Ji Yong Kim is a female name, but my guess is that it's a female fight. Sometimes odds are either pretty true to what they say or totally off, but a 310 favorite.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those. I had last weekend, I had my parlay ruined because somebody was like minus 800 favorite. And I said, you know what? I might as well just throw that in just for a little bit more money. And then that's the only one I got wrong, and I lost it because you just shouldn't do that. There's no reason to put a fight with that heavy of odds, especially a women's fight that you know nothing about. You shouldn't just throw that in your parlays.
All right, the co-main event, Neil Magnate versus Robbie Lawler. I cannot believe that Neil Magnate is the favorite in this fight.
No, I agree.
Robbie Lawler is an absolute killer. I would say that Robbie Lawler is not getting any better at this point. And I would even say that Neil Magnate, although being up there in age, is hitting like a weird spike towards the end of his career. But even then, a Lawler Valley, I think, is way higher than a Neil Magnate peak. And Lawler's the underdog, a 195 underdog at that. Like, I think that's an easy way to make money. Betting on Robbie Lawler.
So I looked into this a little bit. Robbie Lawler, I think what hurts him is he is on a 3-fight losing streak. So people don't really know.
They're to who? They're to Ben Askren.
So his last fight.
In controversy.
And like his last fight was Colby Covington. Yep.
And who was his loss before that? Maybe like Woodley?
No, he did lose to Woodley, but this is the kind of the only one that sticks out that makes me question is they both have fought Rafael Dos Anjos.
Okay, the former champ.
He beat Lawler and Magnate submitted him in the first round. But everything else, if I was going to bet, I think
don't believe you.
I'd pull it up.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I got it in my notes right here.
Yeah, I just decided not to believe that Neil Magnate submitted Rafael Dos Anjos.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, am I right?
Casual. Yeah, you were right.
Oh,
Neil Magnate
I would have known that.
Neil Magnate got submitted in the first round, actually, to Dos Anjos.
Yeah, there's no way Robbie's losing this one.
Well, I don't know how they got these odds then. I think I just figured if the odds there had to be some reason.
Yeah, and also, hopefully with my video editing magic, I'm going to put a picture right here of Neil Magnate's worst hairline in the UFC. Bar none, worst hairline in the UFC, and that alone. And I don't even dislike Neil Magnate. It's just an observation of mine.
Yep. Huh. Well, that's why they call me Casual Cal.
Yep. All right.
Maybe it's because Magnate has a 6-inch reach advantage. They're like, that's probably worth about
wow,
50.
That must be the tipping point.
Yep.
They saw their arms, not the girth, but the length, and they said,
like, yeah, that's probably right. All right. Main event.
Alexander Rakic versus Anthony Smith. Who you got?
I got Rakic. 12-2, 4-1 in the UFC. I think it's too soon probably for Anthony Smith to be back in there fighting. He got rocked really bad his last fight.
He was handing his teeth to the official. Knocked out.
And that wasn't like that long ago. It was like
that was
3 months ago.
It was during quarantine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I thought maybe he had brain damage.
And like after like the Tiger King part of quarantine, so not even the beginning of it.
It was post Tiger King.
Yeah. So that was one of that. I remember I clicked on the ESPN app. I looked at like total strikes, and it was like 180-14.
Wow. And that was against Glover Teixeira, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. And, going into that fight, I would have told you that Anthony Smith would have.
He was the favorite. He was the favorite.
Mauled Glover Teixeira. I don't know if he was on a win streak or if he had lost a close one, but he fought John Jones. Like, Anthony Smith is a formal title contender and #1 contender. Like, Anthony Smith is for sure an absolute animal, or was. And I think a lot of these fighters that are right on that brink, sometimes you see this fight that really kind of changes them. And after he got absolutely mauled by Glover Teixeira, like, it's not even like Glover Teixeira is at his peak. Like, he certainly is still an elite light heavyweight, but certainly on the downward.
He's not a guy who's ever going to hold a belt.
No, he's certainly on the downward part of his career. And to just embarrass Anthony Smith like that, I got to take Rakic. And truthfully, I don't know much about Alexander Rakic other than the highlights that the UFC has been pumping out for these promos this last week. But I've seen him, like, kicking guys in the face and, like, absolute flash knockouts. Like, this dude's cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's solid. He's winning fights. He's 4-1 in the UFC. I really do feel like Anthony Smith needed more time off. Not even maybe he's healthy, but
Mm-hmm.
They've got to figure out some things too,
Yeah.
so you don't get punched in the face and have to give your teeth to the ref.
Yes. And certainly this is a fight that can serve to for Anthony Smith to prove that he does still belong in that top 4 or 5 in the light heavyweight division. And if he loses this one, especially the way if he loses this one, like if he gets really beaten badly, that will, I think, send him down to more of a gatekeeper role.
I think that's what he is right here. I think he's already there.
Well, if this was a gatekeeper fight, I think a win here could make him no longer a gatekeeper. But if Rakic beats him, and if Rakic beats him bad, Smith is a guy that is then going to be matched up with a real up-and-comer.
Yeah, and I feel that if he loses this one, he might be like one bad loss away from being done.
Yeah, I would agree. Because he's no spring chicken either. I mean, he might be 31 to 34. I have no idea, but
I can tell you right now, he's 32.
Yeah.
But he's got 48 fights.
Yep.
And 15 losses. So you're getting hit hard in at least 15 to 20 of those probably.
Yeah, and you kind of look at it too, like, kind of the Ben Askren outlook of, could he still keep, fighting, maybe being like the first or second fight on main cards. Right now, he's still a headliner on something like a UFC fight night or, one of the free fight nights. But man, if he drops this one, then it's like his road back to a title shot is probably consists of like 4 straight wins, which I don't see, and 2 of which have to be guys like Dominic Reyes or Jan Blachowicz or, I don't see him beating those guys if he could not get past Glover Teixeira.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Maybe he'd get a Magomed if he loses this one.
I could even see Magomed going past him. If Magomed goes up and Smith goes down, I could see Ankalaev passing him up.
Mm-hmm. I could even see Ankalaev Rakic fight after this. They both win.
Yeah.
They'll both be 13-2. He'd be, and Ankalaev would be like 15-1. That'd be
That's not necessarily if they both win in epic fashion and fight each other, that's not necessarily a title eliminator, but that's like the winner of that is now a top 3 or 4.
Yep, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of names we're not mentioning in there too, but
for sure.
I got a couple some of the social media news that I would like to talk about, but should we first taste some beers?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that we're going to wrap up these podcasts with is a beer review, right? So each time.
And every week we're going to make sure to drink something that we haven't had before.
Yeah, hopefully, unless I don't prepare.
Okay. Yeah. But I will do a really good job of that. I will never drink the same one first.
Perfect. I chose Spotted Cow. I'm an Illinois native, but Wisconsinian at heart. Spotted Cow. Absolutely great piece of Midwest culture.
All right, I chose. I thought I'd try Miller Lite. I've never had one of these bad boys. I got my dad drinks them, and some people say they're pretty good, but I don't know. I thought I'd try it, and whatever. We'll see what I think. Kind of smells like beer. Wow. Holy cow. This might be the best beer I've ever had in my entire life. I cannot believe I waited this long to try a Miller Lite. If I had to give that a ranking out of 10, I'd give it a 12.
Wow.
That was ridiculously smooth, refreshing. It tastes good. It just felt good. It makes me feel good. I just can't say enough about how good this beer is. I don't know how I'm ever going to have another beer better than this.
Wow. Great to know. I might have to try one myself.
Yeah, you should try one sometime. That's my first one. Once again, I want to make sure you know. Okay.
All right. You want to do social media stuff, and then let's get out of here. I think we already went definitely way longer than we wanted to, but we're new at this, and we're going to feel it out, and we'll figure out our pacing shortly.
All right. So I'm going to give you a quote, and I want you to tell me who you think said it, and maybe you already heard it, so it's not as fun. and then tell me what it was about.
Okay.
So a UFC fighter said, once we take out Pink Princess, you're next.
Wow. All right. Well, I think Pink Princess is referring to Israel Adesanya.
That would be correct. Because of his pink hair.
Yeah. And once we take out Pink Princess, you're next. I would assume that that was said by Big Balloon Arms, Paulo Costa. Because he's the next one to fight Izzy, which I would assume that he would be the one that would be taking out Pink Princess.
Yeah, but then who would be next then?
I know, I think maybe Costa was telling who's the next,
maybe somebody who was training with Costa or around him.
Oh man, was it Henry Cejudo?
They would be sent Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Volkanovski, yeah.
Oh,
he announced that he's ending his retirement this week.
Yes.
Officially, he's coming back to fight. So that's big news.
Is that official?
Yeah, he said this was like his tweet, and then he had an interview that says he's coming back.
Okay, but the UFC has not announced a Cejudo Volkanovski fight. But
no,
Henry
they
said
haven't. No,
but Henry has said he is coming out of retirement.
Henry says I'm out of retirement.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad I could bring this news to you live.
Oh man, I'm excited. Oh, yeah. I had a tweet the other day that said I would let all of my favorite fighters for the rest of the year lose every single fight if we get to call Henry Cejudo C4.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I am a Henry Cejudo stan.
Casual wrestler bias right here.
Oh, heavy.
Then the only other thing I had, which also is Paulo Costa and Adesanya, is Costa said along the lines, he was talking to Israel on Twitter because Israel was complaining about not being sure if they could test Costa and saying he's on steroids, which he probably is, and all this stuff. And Costa essentially said he calls him Runner Sanya now. He thinks he's going to run away. Yeah. He said the USADA never tested me in Brazil. They couldn't because of COVID. You're dead now.
Literally confessing that he is so juiced up that there's no way that he can stop him.
But I kind of believe it. I think he probably knew he's going to get tested, and he's so juiced up.
There's no doubt in my mind that Costa is juiced to the gills. No doubt.
Dude, have you seen his biceps?
Dude, they're so big.
They're huge.
He's 35 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Yeah. But honestly, I think the odds aren't going to reflect that. But him not being drug tested because of COVID could actually make a big difference, because now, say he is taking steroids all the time, he can continue to take steroids all the time while he's training up until the fight, where normally you probably have to cut him out like 3 months beforehand because he's going to get drug tested.
Yeah.
So,
you don't want any picograms in there.
Yeah. What?
That was the whole John Jones, the picogram of.
Oh, yeah. I got what you're saying. I missed it. At first, I just said yes.
It's all right. We're casual.
All right. That's all I got. Those
are the
two things that stuck out to me this week.
What?
That was what stuck out to me this week on social media.
I like that. And I'm glad that you do that research instead of me. Last thing, I'll put it right up here. Follow us on Twitter. It is at Casual Combat MMA. And we also, in that Twitter bio, we have a link to our YouTube page. And this will hopefully be up on the YouTube page maybe tonight, depending on how late I want to stay up. Also, let it be known I've never edited anything in my life. So the production quality of this may not be great. I think the video quality even is going to be worse than what we're looking at right now on our screens. But
yeah, it's going to get better. We got some better technology coming in. I shot this one off my iPhone. And two things I realized is on an iPhone, you get text messages the whole time while you're trying to record. And also, I should have made sure there were no flies in my room, because there was one fly in here that really bothered me the whole episode.
I did notice that. What I did not notice is any of your texts. It didn't shake your phone or anything?
Sometimes. And I also realized my camera's over here, so if I swipe up on the text right here, it's my whole hand. If I'm over here, you don't know what I'm doing.
I see.
Yeah. Learning as we go, man.
Sounds good. We'll see you next week.